Good afternoon, everyone. I, Dr. Deepika Desai, welcome again you all to the third and the final session of the day. Our resource person for the session is Dr. Anupama Srivastava Saxena ji, Head MIT Institute of Behavior and Allied Sciences, MIT University, Gurugram. She is PhD in psychology with 14 year experience as well. Her research area includes childhood disorders and mental health of the disadvantaged. Her legacy stands out in the fact that she has won the famous Professor Kali Prasad Research Prize for the best PhD thesis in psychology in 2009 and has over 17 publications to her credit. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Deepika. And I'll begin with my greetings to the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Om Sterling Global University and also Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Ajay Podar, and respected deans and the faculty members who are attending this session. So, again, please accept my greetings and thank you for giving me this opportunity to, have a session and deliberate upon the significance of life skills, particularly in the context when, this COVID pandemic has moved everything. So, I'll just take a moment to share. Okay. Uh, Now, the life skills and value education. I'll just show through some of the slides. So this is the famous headbutt of Zidane, and a lot of us remember the 2006 World Cup football final. And Zidane from France, we were all hoping they would win, and uh, Materazzi, they had some clash, and then Zidane head butted him, and then France ultimately lost to Italy. Another very famous painter, Vincent van Gogh, who was very talented painter. A lot of us have seen these paintings, and but he attempted suicide at the age of 37 years. On the other hand, you have players, I don't need to name him. We all know his calm, his cool, in spite of sledging from the Australian players. And another business, stalwart, Ratan Tata. What is the difference between Zidane and Tendulkar, or what is the difference between Vincent van Gogh and Ratan Tata? All of them were extremely talented people, but some, suffered, and some went on to become very successful. So, it brings to the fore that not talent is, or the hard skills, what we call the technical skills, are not enough. You need something more than that. And what is more? That is the soft skills. So hard skills, as we call, just to name them, they are technical skills, the tangible skills which we learn. Like if I'm from psychology, the testing we do, the therapy, or somebody's an engineer, mechanical engineer, so they would have those skills. They are the hard skills, which would include your degrees, your certifications, your job titles. Soft skills, which give you an edge, how you interact with people, how you make decisions, how you bounce back from adversity, how quickly, how you regulate your emotions. Are you able to, manage your emotion along with other people's emotions? How good you can communicate. So it is very clear, and a number of researchers have proven this, that to give you an edge, if you have average or more than average talent or knowledge in whatever field you have chosen, what will give you an edge is, of course, these soft skills. But of course, the hard skills are important. But if you have average or above average, what would discriminate two people would be, of course, these soft skills. So we need a blend of both soft and hard skills for professional and I would say, personal success as well. Now let us come to more, of course, the focus of today's session, life skills. So a lot of time the question is, what are life skills? The name itself is, you can understand anything that helps you to lead a happy, healthy, productive life. And WHO has given the definition in 1997, which is the abilities for adaptive and positive behavior that enable individuals to deal effectively with the demands and challenges of everyday life. So, simply put, it is making you more adapt easily and positively so that you can solve everyday, problems and live productively. Now, what is the significance? We'll talk about of life skills, but it will help the young people, our students, to have better mental health, relationships, and also another significant point is it would increase their employability. So when people are coming to interview our students, they are asking or they're checking them on these life skills as well. So just to deliberate on it a little more, WHO has also given 10 core life skills. What are these? These are problem solving. Now, every day we have problems. The problem need not be a very big problem. It can be very simple problem in the sense, uh, somebody has to go to the college and they have to find a conveyance for it and they are not getting, you're booking a cab and you're not getting. So it can be very simple problems we face every day. Now if there can be bigger problems as well, there can be relationship problems, there can be academic problems. If we do not have effective problem solving skills, if the problems go unresolved, it can cause a lot of mental stress and health problems. So problem solving skills would help our young people to deal constructively with problems. Now, when we teach life skills to our students, a very common, because, we'll discuss later also, but teaching life skills is very experiential, right? So we use a lot of role plays, brainstorming, and stories. And a very, the story that we have all read in our childhood is the thirsty crow story. And we all remember that the crow was thirsty, and the problem was that he had to look for water, and then when he searched, there was some water at the bottom of a pot, and the problem was that how to drink that water. So then he, of course, he you not only used critical thinking, he used creative thinking, and he put those stones in that water, the pot, and the water level came up, and he drank. So this is how we, teach them to be solution focused, not to get problem overwhelmed by the problem. So you're looking at every problem as an opportunity to do something new. If you look in this pandemic, people have done the most number of innovations because they looked at problem as an opportunity and not something that only will overwhelm their resources. So we usually tell this story to teach them that if you have a problem, then we of course give them real life problems to solve. How you can use, generate alternative solutions to a problem, and then uh, evaluate pros and cons of each alternative, and then select the best alternative to solve the problem. Critical thinking, very important skill, because we use a lot of structured argument. You ask them a question, and maybe there's group discussion where you have, of course, you have to give certain guidelines and structure the argument so that it doesn't lose its essence and direction. Then debates are there. A lot of co-curricular activities can be designed in our classrooms to further support and improve the critical thinking of our young people. Third, effective communication skills. We know that we not only communicate verbally, we also communicate non-verbally. And a lot of times we say, oh, I'm not communicating with this person. I've stopped communicating with this person. I do not talk to her or him anymore. Actually, you're communicating something. You're communicating your emotions. You're communicating to that person that I'm upset with you, or I do not want to continue this relationship further. So when you say you're not communicating, you're still communicating, right? So it's very important to express ourselves verbally and non-verbally, and it is very important to teach our children. Usually there's an image of good boys or good girls do not communicate their negative feelings. It's very important to teach them that you should communicate. It's just that we have to equip them with the proper method and tell them to communicate in culturally appropriate way, and depending on the situation. But it is very important to communicate. And then is decision making. Now every day young people have plethora of choices to make. It can be what dress to wear, to whom to what photo to put on a social media platform, and what course to take, which class to attend, and number of decision making. Even uh, have a lot of peer pressure and decisions regarding health behavior. Whether to engage in exercise, and a lot of time drug abuse problems are there. So decision making is, it can have consequences for their health. And if they are not able to make effective decisions, it can cause a lot of stress also. And we have to equip them to also, evaluate pros and cons of each decision, right? So usually as elders we try to say, okay, this is the decision, you should follow it. On the other hand, we have to equip them to take their own decisions, trust their own gut feeling to take decisions. And how they can trust their own decisions is by that they have enough skills to look at pros and cons of each decision they are taking. If they are taking a decision to smoke, what will be the pros and cons? If they do take a decision to engage in exercise 30 minutes daily, what are the pros and cons? And then they will become, if when they take their own decision, they become responsible for it. And once you're responsible for something, and if it succeeds, good. If it doesn't, then you also take responsibility of that failure and to improve that situation. Next is creative thinking. Now, this is a very significant skill that has been found to play a big role in, in the lives of very successful people. So it can be also known as, you can also call it as what if skills. Okay. If suppose the sky was not blue, it was red, what would happen? Okay, so basically imagination and innovation would come out from creative thinking. Now it is helping these children or young people to imagine world not as it is, but how it could be. So, if I'm imagining this world to be a healthy nation or my neighborhood to be a clean place, uh, so I would not only imagine but also create it. So, creative thinking skills would help our young people to not only imagine a world which is healthier, which is happier, cleaner, successful, but also to create it. Then, interpersonal relationship skills, if uh, they do not have adequate relationship skills, it is bound to cause lot of stress, uh, and how they relate, with other people in positive ways. Because as we have seen in this pandemic, otherwise also, relationships are a big source of social support. If you see all the researches on health, it has been found that if you have good social support, healthy, positive relationships, you bounce back from any adversity or illness more faster than compared if you are lonely. So relationship skills will equip them not only to have a very meaningful or fruitful personal life, but also professionally when you have to coordinate with a lot of people. uh, People are coming from diverse backgrounds, they have different ways of behaving, eating, dressing up, so being sensitive to those, you know diversity, and behaving in ways that is conducive to the work environment. Another very significant would be self awareness building skills. Now, I'm sure many of you would have observed, usually in interviews, the question that we usually ask these children, the first question, whether it is, any kind of interview, is tell us something about yourself, or, introduce yourself. And I would say a lot of students would just tell their name, their father's name, uh, their percentages, from where they did their schooling or college, the place they belong to. That is that. Only the facts, right? I mean, these demographic information. And we have to encourage them to list their strengths, to list, how what are the areas where they need improvement. Very few children would speak that because probably there is lack of self awareness. So if you ask them about XYZ in their class, they would have number of sentences to write. But if you ask them to write about themselves, they fall short of words. So very important to be self-aware for our young people, because when you recognize your strength or and weakness, your likes and dislikes, uh, that sets the stage for managing yourself. You know what are my, hot buttons, in the sense, what happens after which I experience negative emotions, so that whenever that is going to happen or that is likely to happen, I'm ready for next action. I know that, if a lot of children would say that, my parent would repeat something twice or thrice and I would get irritated, that why are they nagging me. So I tell them that, your hot button. If they have said something and you think it is causing problem, then you should be ready with the solution also, right? So instead of slamming the door or, breaking something or taking out anger on yourself, you can probably, think of what are the options. Can you do the thing that they want you to do? If you're not intending to do that thing, then what would you tell them? Communicate with them that you will be doing after an hour, half an hour, or then you choose to maybe read a book and distract yourself because you're not in the right frame of mind to communicate. So if you are aware about your hot buttons or things that cause problems in your emotional life, you would be ready to manage it also. And of course, then you know what are your needs and desires. And when you this is very important for relationships also. If you're not, usually we are more focused what the other person needs and in a relationship, but we have to teach young people that first they should be aware of what they need and desire, so that they can effectively communicate to the other person, and then they can understand the other person's viewpoint also. So it is very significant. Another is empathy. Empathy, and we'll also talk about later the value compassion. So empathy would, putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. It would not only help you to understand and accept others who may be very different from, you, the young people around. Now, what is happening is that we are working, living in very in a environment of huge diversity, people from different cultures, from different communities, from your different mental health attributes, personality qualities are working together, living together. So to be able to understand other person's viewpoint, you need to have empathy, you need to understand other people so that you can accept them. And that is tolerance, acceptance, uh, is very important if you want to be a successful professional. Last, of course, coping with stress and emotions. Now, we all are aware that, as I discussed while talking about effective communication skills as well, that you need to communicate your positive and negative emotions both. It's just that, it should be culturally appropriate, it should be appropriate to the situation, and you should be able to talk in and see what language you're using, what tone you are using, and when you should talk about the negative emotion you're feeling. So very young children are taught to talk about their emotion. And difficulty is that a lot of young people would report to us psychologists that we are not able to express when we feel anger, how to express. So usually the expression would be either self-harming behavior, or it would be in the sense of hurting somebody else. A lot of times, if a child is or a young person is breaking something and you say, oh, it's a bad behavior, anger issues, if you're empathetic, you realize that it is a need or a cry for help. The person is breaking something or harming himself. He's not able to put in words because he probably doesn't have the skill to tell you that he or she needs help. So very important to teach our young people that they're able to not only recognize and manage emotions of themselves, but also of people around them. So this is a very difficult or a bigger problem that young people today have. That is why so many cases of depression and anxiety and anger issues, because they are telling us in ways we cannot understand, but they are telling us that they need help. They do not have the required skills through which they can express those feelings appropriately. We need to equip them. Stress, we know, it is going to be there. It is a part of life. So we cannot take stress or out of people's life, but we can of course train them to manage it effectively. So we need to be aware of the sources of stress in our life, and managing it either by making changes in our lifestyle, eating habits, or other habits, or it can be, by certain relaxation techniques, meditation, mindfulness techniques are working beautifully. And you can teach mindfulness to a very a child also, and to an adult also. So mindfulness techniques can work wonders. So these are the life skills that WHO has talked about, and we all need, young people need it to be successful in their personal and professional lives. Now, research shows that, between 6 to 16 years is this very important age for life skills learning. So the earlier the better. So, but as it is, life skills training is a life process, lifelong process. So it is not like somebody at the age of 22 or 23, they also need to learn about life skills. Now, the next question is, who needs these life skills? The people who have mental health issues, very young or very old people, or, uh, young people who are showing anger or depression or anxiety symptoms? The answer is everyone and anyone who wants to lead a meaningful and productive life. So, all of us need these life skills, and these life skills were taught to us, in different methods, in the form of stories, in the form of religious scriptures, by grandparents, by parents. So the answer is everyone and anyone who wants to lead a meaningful and productive life. Now, why life skills? Why do we need life skills? I'll just share a story that I found on internet. So an eagle knows, when a storm is approaching, long before it comes. And what would happen, when a storm is to come? Before that, the eagle would fly to some high spot and it would wait for the winds. And when the storm comes, it would extend its wings, so that the wind will pick it up and lift it above the storm. Now the storm is there below and the eagle would fly above it. So the eagle does not escape the storm, it simply uses the storm to lift it higher, and it rises on the winds that bring the storm. So all of our young people or us, they are experiencing storms, more so storms in the, uh, in the form of problems. The biggest storm in today's life would be COVID pandemic. All our lives are, has been disrupted. So we do face these kind of storms, and there will be many more such storms in the form of war, or personal tragedies, or these kind of pandemics. Maybe, you never know, but when they come upon us, we can rise above them by our determination, also faith in God. So this story, I think, why I put up the story, because it rightly puts up, you have to prepare our young people. The storms will come. We are facing a storm, and I think the best thing we can do for our young people to train them to deal with any personal or storm in future is to train them to use that storm to you know uh, make them fly higher. So this is what life skills are doing. Life skills are actually equipping you to fly higher, you when the storm comes. So you will not fall down, you'll fly higher. Life skills are important for developing significant, social and psychological skills, psychosocial competence, as we can call it. You will have the requisite psychological skills, like you have resilience. If there is an adversity, I can, take charge of my emotions, and I can, through self talk or cognitive restructuring, I can tell myself to handle that situation and bounce back from it. So we talk about post traumatic growth. A lot of people, after personal tragedies, after some kind of trauma in their life, have shown to not only bounce back from that, but also do something more than that, to grow, uh, do something. A lot of people, we see that they had some personal tragedy, they had something, like in COVID pandemic, some people lost their near and dear ones, and how they, tried to, not only they bounced back from it, but also started helping others who were in the similar situation. So that is post traumatic growth, and that is what is resilience. And also the required social skills to, navigate through your daily lives. It would also help, the students to translate whatever knowledge they have, attitudes and values, into healthy behavior. So life skills, critical thinking, or decision making, problem solving, all these are going to help our young people to be healthy, because they would be able to make healthy choices, because we are equipping them with the skills to weigh the pros and cons of their everyday decisions, be responsible for those decisions. Usually, when we take decisions for themselves, then if it fails or succeeds, the onus is on us. So if it fails, oh, because my mother said so, so, it failed. Now she's responsible. But if I'm helping my child or my daughter to take decision for herself, if she fails, she would take responsibility to improve that situation. So we're asking them to own it. Developing life skills, of course, would help our young people to make better choices, not only about their health, about their careers, about their relationships, about everyday choices they have to make, what to eat, where to go, with whom to interact, all those things. Also, it would help, as mentioned earlier, also in increasing their employability and ability to achieve personal and professional success. A lot of times, if somebody writes in their resume, that is why there is a provision of co-curricular, extracurricular activities. So if somebody writes that they, engage, or they were involved in some kind of sports, they played football or cricket or badminton, whatever. So we know that this person would have skills, team building skills, communication skills, managing their emotion skills. Because if you're a team player, you would obviously be, you would have all those skills which a team player requires. So that gives an edge when we are recruiting somebody, because now, everybody is working in teams, whether they are remote teams or they are in the same working space. But if I have to recruit somebody and they are good, average or above average in their academics, and there are two people and one also has, significant achievement in sports, I would give an edge to that person, because I know that working would not only require the knowledge of that area, but also the team coordination skills. Similarly, if you're working with, some kind of NGO, or working to help people, or if you worked in this COVID pandemic to help people, I know that you have empathy, or high in empathy, and you would be very effective in communication and relationship management. So these are core skills. We all want happy, efficient, and people who can communicate well in our workplaces. Now, what is the research evidence? Another question arises for these life skills. Let us look at few of the couple of research evidences. So, a study by Shrikala and Kishore was done in 2010, and they found that these life skills program helped the adolescents and young people to develop higher self-esteem. You know, they they developed the self-worth, positive coping, better adjustment, and pro-social or helping behavior. Another study by Rajkumar and Pilentra in 2017, it they studied they conducted a life skills education program on secondary school students, and they found that life skills education program was helpful again in developing positive coping skills and problem solving abilities. Uh, Life skills, they have been found to be protective factors during challenging situations. Uh, and it has been shown in this COVID pandemic that people who had skills, whether it was interpersonal skills, or it was creative thinking, or it was problem solving, they are, they have better emotional health now compared to people who who had low life skills. They have increased depression and anxiety. So another high level of resilience, which is the ability to bounce back from adversity, is also it also results from life skills education. So if we are imparting life skills education to our students in our classrooms, what we are doing is we are developing, or we are leading to very resilient young people who are ready to face any kind of storms in their life. And it has been seen to be associated with low levels of emotional and behavioral problems, and also high levels of distress tolerance. So usually the parents would report to us that their child or their son or daughter has very low levels of distress tolerance. Anything small happens, and they would throw a tantrum, or they would be very upset about it. So we have to train our young people for developing high levels of distress tolerance, and life skills is the answer to that. Recently, National Policy of Education in 2020 has also recommended including, activities in our classrooms to strengthen life skills like problem solving, critical thinking, digital literacy, creativity, teamwork, and cooperative learning to ensure better classroom adjustment and mental health of our students. So even like we do some project, we can divide our students into team, ask them to come up with certain creative solutions, then also engage in problem solving. So within, when we are teaching, whether we are transacting courses of engineering, management, psychology, English literature, we can still, within those, classes also, we can equip our young people with these life skills. Now, UGC in 2019 has given this life skills curriculum, uh, which is known as Jeevan Kaushal. So they have talked about basically four classes of life skills. So communication skills, as also in WHO. Now we need to train our young people to differentiate between hearing and active listening. So a lot of times you see every most of our students or young people around us, whether in their homes also, they would be on phones, and if you are telling them something, they would not they would maybe hear but not listen. So you have to tell them that listening is with the full body. You have to tell them that if you are listening to me, then you have to look at the speaker. The listening, active listening, is with the entire body. uh, you don't have to judge but think about what you're hearing. And people who are very defensive usually, and you see in your day-to-day communication, before the other person finishes up what they have to say, the other person is ready with the answer. Because when we are hearing people, we are defensive, but when we are listening people, we are trying to first understand what they have to say, and then we will communicate when our turn comes what we have to say. So there is no competition in listening, there is a competition in hearing. Okay, that I can snap her first, or let me come up with a better answer to what she has to say, let me win. So this competition is there in hearing, but in listening, you are cooperating. Okay, this is what you have to say, this is my viewpoint. Okay, then you give feedback also, you ask question also to understand what the other person has to say. So we have to train up young people to listen, actively listen in their communications with other elders, or with their peers, or with people younger to them. Speaking using appropriate words, tones, and of course it would come from us when, as teachers or parents, we are interacting with them. If you're giving them, they're very sensitive to criticism. So teaching them to handle criticism, okay, and telling them about constructive criticism. If you have to tell them, don't say, if I tell you that this is not good, the other person would immediately become defensive. But if I say, okay, whatever assignment you've written, this was good, now what you need to improve on. So the change of language change the mindset of the person who is listening to you. So if I'm giving a constructive feedback to somebody, I have to first tell them their positive points. Then I have to tell them what they can improve, where they can improve, and how they can improve. Instead of using words, you're not good, you cannot do anything in life, you don't study, let us tell them what you're good at, and let us use the words like, okay, so I think you have written, the content is good, but I think it needs to, little more explanation, it needs more referencing. So these are the areas you can improve upon. So that would enable the other person who is listening, the young person, to listen to me with an open mindset. So handling constructive criticism or giving feedback to others is very important. The tone, the pitch, the words, they make all the difference. Reading, so many children have lost this habit of reading. Then another significant, which is, as teachers, is digital literacy. More so during pandemic, the classes were online and the submissions are online. So this digital literacy has taken greater significance. Now, very important is to train them about digital search skills. Lot of people, especially from, not so from lower socioeconomic backgrounds or rural backgrounds, might not have good digital search skills. Then also digital plagiarism. You see that copy paste assignments would be there. So training them, teaching them the ethical guidelines, or telling them that digital plagiarism would be very detrimental to their academics. Internet safety is another. Cyberbullying is on the rise. How they can manage themselves on internet. So, talking about internet safety, is very important because a lot of children are facing mental health issues uh, because of cyberbullying. Also, Jeevan Kaushal or curriculum of UGC talks about effective use of social media. So a lot of parents and teachers would be, tensed about that the students are using a lot of social media. So let us not stop our children from using social media, because that also has very constructive uses, and the students will use it. But let us train them to effectively use it for networking, for gaining more knowledge, for their careers, and also the significance of non-verbal communication. So, non-verbal communication is very important. What is your body language? What are your facial expressions? It's very important to train them about that. Very, simple things, that whether you are sitting like, with your arms folded, gives a cue to the other person that you are arrogant or you do not want to hear to the other person. And open postures give the feedback to the other person that you are ready to listen to them. The eye contact tells them that, yeah, you're interested in whatever they're saying and you're paying attention to them. Head nodding gives uh, information to other person that, yes, I'm listening to you. Another set of skills Jeevan Kaushal curriculum talks about is the professional skills. We have to increase the employability skills of our students, the graduates. So the career skills, whether it is resume writing, the interview, how to face the interview. As I told you, the very first question, introduce yourself or tell me something about yourself, sets the tone, it gives the first impression to the person who is interviewing. So, very important are these interview skills. If they are interviewing somebody, then of course, using the open ended questions more. Group discussion, how to conduct yourself in group discussions so that you do not appear either very dominating or as very submissive, still putting your point assertively. So, assertive communication is very important, which should be taught to young people. Usually, they feel that being aggressive is assertive. No, so you have to tell them to the difference between aggressive and assertive. You have to tell the point, whatever you feel, but in a way that is doesn't appear rude to the other person. Team skills are very important because, as I said, most of the workplaces would require coordination with teams. So, how you interact with other people, how you treat your subordinates, how you interact with your seniors, that will be very important. Your presentation skills, also your self presentation skills, how you have groomed yourself. A lot of students would take casually when they're appearing for interviews. Formal dressing, there's always stress because if you come in formal dress, it gives an impression that you're disciplined, you have come for a job and you want it. It's not you are not taking it casually. You're focused. So very small things about you tell that you're disciplined or you're focused, or this you need this job and you want it. Trust and collaboration. So trust exercises are done. uh, Trust building is very important in successful workplaces. The teams who can trust each other, they would obviously deliver in lesser time and will have better results. Brainstorming is another technique that we use in life skills education, where people sit together, and they have to, solve a problem. So everybody would come with, it is mandatory that you come up with n number of solutions, 10, 20 or whatever, and just write it down, even if they sound very crazy, funny, impractical, but just write them down. And later on we'll look at the feasibility of those solutions. So what brainstorming is doing is helping you to be innovative, right? So if we're teaching our young people to brainstorm, we are teaching them to be creative and innovative. And that is the key to be successful. Social and cultural etiquettes are very important, right? So anybody who is coming to your culture, or if you're going to another person's culture, you have to understand their culture in order to, prevent any miscommunication. So these are very important. Respecting each other's cultural nuances, that is also very important. The third category that, Jeevan Kaushal or UGC talks about is leadership and management skills. So the entrepreneurial skills, whether that is business strategy or sales or leadership, then innovation, design thinking. So we have to train our young people in leadership and managerial skills, irrespective of what course they have chosen in order to be successful. Because when you're a leader somewhere, you have to understand the place and which kind of leadership would uh, you know deliver more results. So not all the time maybe democratic leadership would be effective. Not all the time, you can't use authoritarian all the time. So changing your leadership style according to the time and situation, that is very important. The flexibility, the students should have the flexibility to understand. Now, the fourth category of life skills that UGC talks about is universal human values. We have seen during these pandemic times how love and compassion. You have seen so many, instances where people have donated and helped each other, even provided food to the COVID patients, provided oxygen cylinders, collected money for them, helped those who were sick. There were people who were auto rickshaws who were taking these people to hospitals. There were people who were providing funeral services. So I think more so love and compassion would be very pertinent life skills or human values that is going to help people bounce back from adversity and as a community. And just to differentiate, we talked about empathy earlier. Now, compassion and empathy, compassion has empathy. So, what is the difference is that when you have empathy, when you see somebody suffering, you have empathy for them. And you also have this motivation and desire to alleviate or lessen their suffering. That is compassion. So, empathy plus the desire to do something to solve the suffering or the alleviate the suffering of other person, that is compassion. And I think this COVID has shown that our country is full of compassionate people who have done in their own capacity many wonderful things to help other people. And compassion in all the you know uh, history shows that whenever any adversity has come, people who have survived, who have been resilient, have been those who have not only helped themselves but helped others. And they have survived the adversity, and they have survived all difficult problems. So, love and compassion for other people would definitely be the biggest human value that we have to teach our young people. Truth, nonviolence, peace, and service. They are also very significant. Now, a few points to discuss when we are developing a life skills education program for our university or for a community. What are things that we should keep in mind? Now, as I pointed earlier, also the traditional mechanisms like the grandparents would pass on these life skills through stories, through there were a lot of community activities, these young people would attend, whether going to religious places, listening to the religious scriptures, and other cultural events that used to happen, which passed life skills to our younger people. They are no longer adequate because of various things, like there are nuclear families, people have different lifestyle nowadays. So now they are not enough, I would say. So we need a structured life skills education program in our classrooms. When we are framing objectives before devising a life skill education program, we have to frame objectives. So it's very important that you should do a need assessment. Okay, what are the skills which need to be supported? There would be few skills which would require more attention than others. So there should be a needs assessment before we devise a life skills education program. Another point is that these objectives should take into account the cultural, religious, political, and socio-economic realities, because we have to devise a program which is not in war with the cultural or religious ethos of the recipients. So we have to see their cultural, religious, political, and socio-economic background before framing objectives. Uh, when we transact life skills program, it has to be active and experiential. So it is basically, it will be based on what we call as adult learning principles. We usually, like at our university, we have behavioral science programs. So we call ourselves as facilitators. So this transaction is in the form of workshop mode. And why we call ourselves as facilitator? Because we are not teachers in that sense. We are not teaching something new. You already know. If I'm making you self aware, I'm helping you, facilitating you to know more about yourself. Okay, I'm helping you to solve problems, facilitating you. Okay, so you already have, many things, but I'm just facilitating you to kind of bring them together and deal effectively with the life. Lot of experiential exercises are there, like you would make them do role plays. Suppose I am angry with my parent or a peer or somebody who's very senior to me, so we'll make them do role plays. How would you express this? How would you communicate this anger to the other person, right? We train them for assertiveness training. So there would be active participatory learning in groups. Everybody, adult learning principle says that, these young adults already have a reservoir of knowledge. They just need to experientially feel, and then they would tell you what were their experiences. And anything that is experienced, its learning will be, for a longer time than anything that is just taught in theory. Now, significance of life skills during pandemic, it has become far more, important, because the first question arises: are we equipping our young people with proper skills and tools to better deal with the world, especially the challenges being faced due to COVID pandemic? I see, you must have seen this ad of a life insurance where there's, the batch is passing out, and the girl says that 2022 batch, was a would be remembered forever, because yes, maybe they did not learn the hard skills as good as the other batches, but I'm sure that is able to deliver the message that the life skills this batch has learned is going to make them survivors forever. So they would, of course, catch up on the hard skills or the technical knowledge sooner or later. The life skills they have been taught would be learning forever. So it's very important, because we know researchers are showing that post pandemic, in most of us, young, old, anxiety and depression has increased. So, and a lot of children right now are not showing those symptoms, what is known as sleeper effect. Sometimes later the symptoms would be visible. It's a little scary. But have we equipped our children with the skills that they would be able to face any such storm in their life? So we need again to recommit to equipping our young people with life skills, because the students are coming back to colleges and universities after a long period of isolation. There would be certain social skill deficits, emotional issues. A lot of our students have lost near and dear ones, so there's, you know they haven't been able to cope with that, so there's a lot of grief. Are we as teachers, ready to provide them with support so that they are able to deal with anxiety, depression and grief? That will take a while, but we are the first people to provide them with some kind of support. These are the some photos which show that how we empathy and other compassion, love, they have helped us to survive, and we are still in the pandemic world. So that is all from my side. Thank you. If there are any questions, please let me know.
Dear participants, if you have any questions, you can put in the comment section. As far as I see, ma'am, there is no any question in the comment box.
Right, right. That is okay. Just with a ending thought. Again, I would request all the teachers, please support our students with the life skills, and I think our little support will make them better citizens and individuals in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Uh, I extend my wholeheartedly appreciate your precious words for diligence and grace. Your thoughts have really enlightened us and shown us the importance of life skills and value education. Your deep and intellectual way of imparting knowledge has added to the intellect of us all. Your information will truly help us in our life. Your session was really interesting, engaging, and easy to understand. Again, ma'am, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Deepika and Dr. Mukesh, for making it absolutely easy and with no issues. Thank you.
Thank you so much.